Hi, everybody. I'm glad that you took time out of your day to join us. I'm Tiffany Poole. I own AMP Attorney Consulting and Hero Conversion Technologies, and I'm here on the behalf of LegalPRO. You may famously know them as Jubilee. And, my good friends at Jubilee, they're great about pushing out information about their product and about their company. But, I wanted them to take it from a different angle. Why not hear it from the people using Jubilee? I mean, in my business and when I'm a buyer, I want to know, give me your sales pitch, let me ask questions, give me information, but then I want to hear from somebody that is actively using your product, and I want to hear them tell me the exact same thing or better. So I didn't have to search long and had a whole list of people, but Jeff Purcell is one of my favorite attorneys. He is one of my favorite attorneys because he's progressive while still being conservative and doing business the right way and always focusing on the client themselves, even when he's trying to progress his law firm into this virtual, more tech-savvy world that we've, grown accustomed to the last couple of years. So without further ado, I'll introduce Jeff Purcell. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I'm going to get right to the punches and ask some hard questions. And I want you to be just completely honest, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm. So again, Jeff here. Been practicing law since '99, and consumer bankruptcy bankruptcy my whole career, but consumer bankruptcy specifically since 2001. Started my own firm in the height of COVID. The only positive thing that I found with COVID is that it forced the curmudgeons in the bankruptcy world to doing about 180 about face with electronic signatures, allowing for virtual hearings, and the stuff that we're accustomed to now. Currently sit on the practice committee for the state of Minnesota, so helping to direct some of those changes. And unfortunately, I guess I was the attorney that lost on the Siegel case that became famous out of Minnesota on bifurcations, but that fight is still kind of ongoing, so we'll see where we go with that.
If I know you, you're not giving up.
No, that's the last word in my vocabulary is give up. So
Why you're one of my favorite bankruptcy law attorneys. So Jeff, let's start with the easy one. Why did you decide to convert to Jubilee?
So in looking at where we were at, technology wise, looking where we're at cost wise, starting a new firm, we'd been using, and I include Kylie and Trish in this, best case our whole careers. And we did review the best case online version, and it, to me, it wasn't where it needed to be. They want to create a great program, and they have. And so we investigated it. It was cost effective. It combined a few of our, we used to have 2 or 3 programs, now we're into 1. And then the tools that you have in it ultimately make our life a lot easier. And the other, and this is an aside, but you call up and you can talk to them, and they really want to make a good product for us as attorneys, not just make a computer program to make money. I mean, they do care, and that goes a long way. And so that's kind of the genesis of where I started from, on why we decided to convert.
You mentioned something that hit my ear because, what I do for a living. It allowed you to reduce the amount of platforms that you're using. Can I ask you in what way and what those platforms were?
Yeah, so we had a regular, client relations management that did not have the bankruptcy prep, so we would do that. And because we are virtual, Trish and Kylie and I, we each had our own standalone on our computer best case. And so in order to get networked, we would have had to invest a lot of money as opposed to just being involved with Jubilee. And so we used, at the time, the integrations just weren't there. Like, Jubilee does integrate like Sign Now, integrates with, now LawPay, and all these things that we are using on a day-to-day basis. So it's a we have one-stop shop basically to get our job done.
Right. No, absolutely. started, because I know you personally, so I know that you were on Best Case originally. What started the hunt for a replacement?
Well, probably about 5 years ago, really looked at the need to be on the cloud, because there was signs that we were becoming very decentralized, with, working from home, or on the road travel. And without the ease of getting to, I know you're supposed to leave your office at times, but our line of work isn't like that. You have to be connected. It might only take 30 seconds to answer a question for a client, and that's all it is, and you got to have quick access. So that's where it kind of started from, and there was nothing out there. You had all the things that were on the server. Now you had a couple other smaller platforms come out with it, and I met with Jubilee at one of the NACBA events, and I was really impressed with some of the stuff they were doing. Like they tie into the national Chapter 13, as just a quick example, and you can go onto their site and you have a report with all your Chapter 13s, and it shows you how many are current, how many are 30 days late, 60 days late, or beyond. I mean, you can pull that report and start reaching out to your clients that are over 30 days late, and now you're, either you're helping them stay in the 13, or they need to be modified, and that's extra money and revenue to the firm.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to introduce, I've got these two lovely ladies. They're much better to look at than Jeff, Kylie and Trish, and they actually run the show over at Jeff's operations. Don't let him tell you any different. I know it personally. I'm asking Jeff the questions, but it probably affected your lives a great deal more than it actually affected Jeff's. So tell me, when you went from Best Case, or utilizing it, to Jubilee, and Jeff said, hey, this is what we're doing, and you probably had a little bit of a freak out moment, right? What were the questions you asked? Yeah, what were the questions that, or concerns you had with that transition?
I think it was just more of making sure everything, ran smoothly. As a paralegal, everything has to flow. You have to keep moving, processes have to keep going. So I think that was like our big concern, like, how do we use this? How do we make this work?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Workflow is everything.
Yep.
Absolutely, because, look, bankruptcy and performing a bankruptcy case, and I know firsthand, isn't significantly complicated or difficult, but it's so deadline driven and multiple tasks per every single case that if you don't have that workflow, I 100% agree. You can make mistakes that, had you known you were supposed to do it within that time, was a simple task, but you didn't know it was there, or you didn't have automation, or, in this virtual setting, you didn't have, you're away from the office, and so you didn't have access to quickly move that along. Now that we're on the other side of that transition, would you do it again?
Definitely.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm not just...
the one thing I wanted to add to that is with, we are virtual, but the nice thing too is all three of us work different hours and different times that, just due to our family schedules. And that was one of the things in creating our firm, is that we wanted to make sure, family's important. But the automation in Jubilee allows us, and I probably get about once a month, somebody wants to change up one of the workflows. So I'll get an email from Kylie or Trish saying, hey, can you move this task to this point because it's easier. When you file a case, you have what, Kylie, Trish, 6, 7 things that we have to do on every case, or varieties, and they go to different people. So we use the workflows so that way, we're not filing 300 cases a month, but we're filing enough to miss out on a deadline. And so those tasks that jump out are huge. So I wanted to kind of add that.
No, absolutely. I have a lot of clients that use Jubilee, and I have a lot of clients that don't, that are still on Best Case, much like you have been on Best Case for years and years. I've got a client that's been on it for almost 20 years, if not a little over at this point. And, I think everyone in the market, including Best Case, can agree that we're in the cloud. and functionally in the cloud and have been for many, many years. The cost and price point is much more attractive. The support is there because I can call anybody, not just because I'm Tiffany Poole, I can call anybody there and get the answer that I need, as well as like online support. But the roadblock is always, if you have so much data in one software, and this isn't just, you know, Jubilee versus anybody else, this is software in general. If you've operated in one way and that workflow is king, right? To come out of that, to do that transition is always the obstacle that I hear. So I think a lot of people don't make the move because they're afraid of what distraction that's going to cause, what chaos that's going to cause, what problems that's going to cause. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience on, you know, did Jubilee help with that transition? How did they help with that transition?
I think we all can kind of take a spot at answering this. I think for me, the biggest fear, if you will, coming over was, how does it work mechanically? You know, how does, you know, if I want to have a task go out for 10 days or whatever it is, how do I get that done? Once I was able to, you know, whether it was Bobby, Carlos, or Yvonne, or one of the other support staff at Jubilee, they walked me through it. Okay, then I knew it would work. So the learning, for me, it was the learning the mechanics of it. And so Trish and Kylie have probably a little bit different perspective because I was building the workflows and they were on the receiving end of them.
Yeah, I mean, even starting out, like filing our first case, somebody was with us helping it. Like, if we have a question, we can call any second and we get a really quick response from anybody at Jubilee.
Like 11 o'clock at night.
Yep.
I'm sure they enjoyed that. But it's real life. I mean, you know, I don't have any set hours, and I don't think anybody in any industry right now has set hours. I think we all have to do what we have to do in order to, you know, help and provide value to the people that are paying us. Otherwise, we're not going to have much to do, right?
Yeah. No, the transition was super simple. Like Josh said, once the workflows got all worked out and Jubilee was there to help us file our cases, like my biggest fear was getting our old cases into the new system and not be a complete mess. And they transitioned all of our data, all of the files, they set up the files for us. I just went through them and just cleaned them up. So it was super smooth for the transition.
That's amazing.
And the other thing too is I believe they have the BCB converter from Best Case now, and I helped, or at least, you know, I worked with them on getting it. So we didn't have the BCB converter, but it was still, like Kylie said, they moved a lot of the data. We had to clean up some stuff, but what I thought it would be about a 3 month, I think it was about 2 weeks before we really felt comfortable. So that wasn't bad at all.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from signing on the dotted line to being live, transferred over, and ready to rock and roll?
Oh, well, I guess what I was getting at is when we went live with it, it was about 2 weeks to where we're like, okay, this is going to work, because then you learn all the nuances of it, right? So it was about where I thought it'd be about 3 months for us to fully get comfortable with it. It was only about 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, yeah, everything's great.
And by the way, 3 months is, you know, right in line with what I've experienced over the last 15 years. Is it takes about 3 months in order to actually be exclusively, you know, working within a new software of any kind. And it's really why I asked that question, because as I've helped firms move over, it's been my number one surprise that it was not a lot of labor on me, right? Because, you know, a lot of clients pay me to make this happen for them. It wasn't a lot of labor on me. It wasn't a lot of time on my team. And honestly, Jubilee and the team at Jubilee kind of took the reins, which is great, because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to that. Now, if they could just, you know, develop a CRM so I can have help there as well.
It's on my list.
So I'll ask you, you know, that was my number one surprise in my experience. I'll go around in each of you. What's your number one surprise or capability or feature that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize this would be my favorite?
I mean, like the system in general is amazing. I mean, going through 2 different systems into one system is huge. It's astronomical. I would probably say the task template and the matter template is probably the number one things. We couldn't do it without it.
How are you using the task template?
That's our automation of all of our tasks that Jeff set up that we went through as a firm and made sure that every status change comes 5 new tasks, so we don't miss deadlines.
So it's all automated for you right now. So you know what your step is and when it is, and then Trish knows hers, and when Jeff gets around to working, he knows his.
Yeah, we literally couldn't do our jobs without it.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And the
Good.
matter templates, like she mentioned, are really nice too, because they, it's a chapter 7, boom, single. It does a lot of the background stuff for them. So go ahead.
Well, yeah, we don't have to set up our petition. All of the Schedule A, all of the wording is already listed. That's on every single petition. It's all there for you. We've just automatically inserted it. We just put a template to each case and it's there for us.
That's amazing. And I know that you guys live super lean. I mean, you have a pretty good volume operation, and living in a very small team without everyone feeling like, they're running around with their heads cut off and stressed out about it. So it's really why I wanted you guys to be on this webinar, because I'm just impressed with how lean the operation is with the volume that you guys produce. So I'm happy to hear it. What about you, Trish?
I think my favorite part is the court notices. Everything from the docket is in there. It is so helpful. It's just so easy to go there, see what you need or get what you need. The other thing is, though, I think we are all still learning. There's a lot left to learn about Jubilee. And I think there's just so much in there that we don't know about that could be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up. What do you think right now is the one thing you're like, I wish I understood this better or utilized it more?
For me, I think it's the non-exempt calculator. I'm still just getting used to it. We used a different one previously, but I think that one, it works. It works. I just haven't looked at it, and really learned it and trusted it.
The court notices are wonderful. I was going to say that. Plus, you have the claims are all in one spot. You don't get charged from Pacer, right? Because it's already in there. And there's some of that stuff too, like you said, to piggyback off of that, there's notices you can send off of court notices. You can set up rules to where that gets emailed to your client stuff. I haven't even looked at that because frankly, I've been kind of busy with other things. The Chapter 13 plan creator is really nice. I'm still learning that after 2 years. And I just worked with Bobby on a couple adjustments on to make modifications easier, and that was last Thursday, and they already have it up and running. So kind of all in one where they're really responsive. So
mine's the document portal. I wish I had more time to do that. My job would be a lot easier, but I haven't dug into it yet. There's just so much to it.
So if I'm, because I actually have a few firms that I'm moving over now, and we're in that process and step, what would you let some of my clients and everyone on this webinar now and anyone that's going to listen in the future, what would you say to a firm that's considering that move, but something's holding them back?
I would just tell them to make the jump.
But Jubilee, I was going to say, just do it.
Yeah, Jubilee is way more than helpful. I mean, they're just always there, and they can explain anything. And if they're confused on something, they figure out the answer immediately. I mean, they're just great to work with.
Yeah,
and I hate change. Hate change.
Same. Yep.
I think every human does.
It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what did Franklin Roosevelt say? The only thing we have to fear is fear itself, and that's, if you have your client, that's always, I've worked with Kylie and Trish now, I think, 16 years now.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
So it's been a while.
Stop beating it us, Jeff.
Yeah, they started when they were 19-year-old kids, and they've developed to wonderful paralegals and people and all that other fun stuff. But they've been along this ride with me for that time, where I think we've gone through like 4 or 5 system transfers or updates or all other stuff, and they know how crazy it gets. But you know, it's the fear of, oh my God, we got to make the change. That sucks. But the other thing too is, if you are fearful of it, before you make the big leap, have all your ducks in a row and learn it. Because that, I know Trish and Kylie and I, we worked, well, obviously building out the firm that we have now. We sat down and we said, okay, where's our end goal? How do we want to build it? How's it? And then worked on that before we implemented the change. Because then when you jump into it, because I think we have it for about a month or two, Kylie,
Yeah, we had a trial period, which was super nice to just play around with it and pretend cases and everything.
but we were building it and we're still using our other stuff, and then we made the switch. I thought that's right.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
That was going to be my next question. How would you, help a firm, from your experience, be prepared to make that move?
like, I think, well, the templates, what did you say that was so nice? All the things that we're talking about, you take the time on the front end to set them up properly. Learn them, set them up properly. It's going to take longer on the front end than just dumping everything in, but now you're not fixing it retroactively, and everything is kind of in the same where it's supposed to be. So I think
You
learning.
definitely take one case, run through it from collecting it all the way down to a discharge, and step by step, and you'll figure out how to use it.
Right. No, that makes sense. So, I think it's really clear that it helps with efficiencies and saving time and not needing as many hands in the pot, which always leaves room for problems, right? But at the end of the day, especially in this economy, and I'll speak for, all the bankruptcy law firms and attorneys I know, efficiency is important. Being virtual is even more important. But at the end of the day, like, how does it financially make you more profitable, or like, how does it help you in that way, if it does?
We are, like you already mentioned, we're a small, it's just the 3 of us, right? And being efficient allows us to then not have to rely on, more labor, or, so, if we didn't have an efficient system and I had to hire another person, that's a couple cases a month right there, that we'd have to do, which means more in marketing to get those extra cases in, and then more work, so I think the efficiency is part of it. Again, allows us to run leaner than you would in a traditional before COVID firm. And then the ease of the technology, the efficiency, getting everything signed electronically now. How much in postage do we save a month, guys? I don't know. 1,000, 500?
A lot.
Yeah.
When you think about a case from retain on, is there any platforms or tech that you're using to operate the steps of that case to discharge outside of Jubilee?
Sign Now, but Sign Now is included, or it's a integration. LawPay, again, integration.
Credit report.
That's
all
integration, yeah.
integrated.
So those are all integrated. We use Ring Central, right, for our phones. And I know that they're opening up the APIs to connect with Zapier, so that, and they are talking that. They are connected, to, again, with the Zapier, and can be able to, and they're looking at integration to fully integrate your Outlook or other email platforms. So yeah, there are other things, but for the most part, they're either integrated or on their way to being integrated to where, you can work in one system and not have to, you're not paying for a whole bunch of other ones.
No, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things. Just making a switch from whatever software provider a firm is using is going to be more cost effective moving to Jubilee. I just know that to be true. I've shopped all of them, but that's just one piece of it. I mean, I have firms that I've moved over that are saving $4,000 a month in Amazon Workplace, you know, because they don't have to put their documents there. I've got firms that are saving thousands of dollars on not having servers and a monthly retainer for an IT company. I mean, the cost savings and then therefore the profitability percentage, right? At the end of the day, I don't want to be in a rat race, and I'm sure you don't either, on just filing more and more and more and more cases and feeding this beast over and over and over again. Because by the way, that's when you know you're losing already. You just haven't seen it yet, because at some point you're going to hit a wall and you can't, there's not an amount of leads that you can have or marketing you can spend to cure the problem, right? So, you know, that profitability margin goes way up, not just in saving, you know, per case that you run through Jubilee versus your, you know, previous provider, but essentially everything else that you're able to remove that also helps efficiency as a byproduct and a bonus, but moves that profit margin up 2%, 5% more. So then if you do decide to run even more marketing through the sales funnel, that percentage continues to grow because this piece stays stagnant. With every other option, as you continue to grow, so does all those other platform app fees, you know, workarounds that you're paying some fee towards. So,
I think
I mean,
it
that's
was
what I've experienced.
yeah, Tiffany, I think it was about $8,000 to $10,000 I figured out, and I could be, I know it's right around that range from where we were before to where we're at now for cost savings on that idea, you know, per year. So I mean, it's not a month or anything like that because we're not huge, but you know, $8,000 to $10,000 a year is, you know, it's a big number.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, you know, something that isn't often correlated with what we're discussing today is you're able to have that larger profit margin and stay lean with your staff. And guess what? You keep your staff for a very long time because you're able to pay them more than the person that's not running efficiently and having all this money going out just to do the workflow to do one case times however many they file, right? You know, they've got to have more people. I've got a firm that has 2 people just doing the court notices, and sadly, you know, they're paid $10 an hour because the pie can only spread so much around, right? There's only so many pieces, so you're able to long term keep your people forever, and that's an important part of business. I don't think we, you know, discuss enough about, and it's crazy to say, but Jubilee is providing that.
Well, you mentioned something, because I think the one thing that I learned over the course of time, and Trish and Kylie, and we've been in many of these discussions, we're all on the same page of that. It's how do you create the, you know, consumer bankruptcy. And I was just on a panel last week or a couple weeks ago with another judge out of a different state who happened to practice in Minnesota 30 years ago. And he asked me how much I charge, and I told him, he says, that's the same thing I charged 30 years ago. You know, so the costs have gone up. We can't just pass that cost on to our clients because they're not corporate clients, and, you know, they're going to look at every dollar, and you have competitors trying to undercut you all the time. You know, my thing is, let the computer do what computers do well, and get good quality people, which thank God Trish and Kylie are 2 of the best. Massage those clients, because I know we've talked about this, freeing up that time. I know I've gotten more referrals on the limited number of cases I've done in 2 years than I've had in the previous 18 years. I mean, you guys, I don't know how many times we see that, right? So.
No, absolutely. I've seen it all around the U.S. So in my experience, one of the biggest hurdles I think in all things in life is that first step, right? Like just taking that first step. And I want you to be honest, okay? How long did it take you to do that first case? So let's say you started, you were prepared, and you built it out. Jubilee helped you get all of that done. Now you're live and you're doing your first real case, right? What were the pitfalls? What were the struggles in that? How long did it take you? I just kind of want to help anyone listening or that will listen, and also for me and communicating to my clients better, that first step, that first case. What do they have coming to them?
I don't really recall, but I would say it probably took me a couple hours to finish my first case, just trying to find everything. I will say there are some things that are just, I mean, obviously it's different than best case. There are some things that just like small things that we just couldn't quite find. And we ended up finding it because it's very user friendly. But it took us a couple hours, you know, running through the filing. That was fine too. Actually, that was really smooth. That went a lot easier than I thought it would have. But that was really easy. But yeah, I mean, it just takes time to learn something new, and you have to be willing to give it the time.
And now, how long does it take you?
Yeah, no time at all. I would say probably, I mean, a pretty simple case, I would say half hour to an hour. I mean, it's easy.
You guys mentioned a lot of things that you integrate with Jubilee, and we were kind of answering a different type of question. So I kind of wanted to slow that down a little bit so I can get my notepad out. I'm going to be honest. I mean, hey, look, you know, I'm in the business to help law firms. So I'm always looking to write down what are the partners that you use that integrate with Jubilee that you're utilizing and that you would recommend.
Like LawPay, right? I mean, I've used LawPay the whole time. They just recently integrated it, and that's one of the things. They have a decent billing platform. Obviously, I have a few improvements I'd like to see, but their billing, you know, it's integrated, and then you can send out invoices and that sort of thing. You have two choices with their with the credit report. For those that are familiar with Best Case, and you know, they do integrate with SIN, and they have a secondary one. And you know, they do integrate with like Practice Panther and Clio. So if you have those already, it's a pretty simple there. They do integrate with Certificate of Service. Again, saves us time and energy for them to mail it out. There are other integrations like Lexaria, which is in development still on, you know, ordering your clients' pay stubs, bank statements. So those are the big ones that I come to the top of my head. I don't know if I'm missing any.
No, that's excellent. I mean, it sounds like it's become the axle and everything else is rotating around that axle to run the practice. I mean, and that's really why I wanted today to happen, is because I think that I say it often, and I know Jubilee and LegalPRO say it, you know, 10 times more than I do. But I'm a buyer, and I think it's important to know what people actually using it, real life, real firms using it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing.
The one thing that is you know, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? It's not all roses and sunshine, because there are some things that that need to be improved, but they're working on them. So to me, I've been in enough of these conversations with enough of these companies where yeah, we'll fix it later, and nothing ever gets done. You actually see progress on the things that you want to see, and so while, you know, it's not fully integrated with Outlook, they're working on it. It will come along, you know, and I think that's the one, you know, be careful when you go over that. I think from the perspective of the fear of transitioning, and if you're taking a 10-member staff over, make sure they know that, hey, it may not be fully integrated today, but if we're looking long term, it's, you know, it's better, it's as good as we have now, but it's going to be better down the road. And that's the thing that's really impressed me, is that they have worked hard to improve.
Well, that has a lot to do with, you know, they have an in-house developing team. Every other company out there that does what Jubilee does, they outsource all of their development 100%. And we all know when you have development teams that are outsourced, they're working on a bazillion projects that have nothing to do with your project. And, I make the joke, but it's honestly true. If they say 1 week, it's going to be 1 year. And, I think it was smart and probably cost a pretty penny investment in the very beginning of LegalPRO, where they decided as a mission statement even that their development team was going to be in-house and solely exclusive and their goals aligned with the company. And so I have a lot of large law firms and many people that Jeff, and you being one of them, that customization is a thing, right? It's important because everyone, no matter where they do bankruptcy or how they do it, is doing it slightly different. There is no cookie cutter version of it. And, Jubilee has made it, the biggest blessing to me and my consulting and my clients, and you as well, I know firsthand, and making those customizations that work for the workflow. And then also, by the way, guys, making suggestions on ways they've seen it work better than you're doing it now. You're like, I want X, Y, and Z customization. And they're like, actually, if you do it this way, as we have exposure to firms everywhere, it's going to run much smoother, faster, and with less error. So you actually get a little bit of consulting on that side as well. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, we've been on a few phone calls where, oh, okay, you do it that way? That's kind of interesting. Or Bobby or Carlos will mention that, this firm's doing it this way and here's how we have it built. And, oh, well, that's a better way of doing it then.
Yeah, and other companies, with their third-party developers, what they're doing is that person doesn't know bankruptcy. They don't know law firms. They know a task that was micro needled out, right? And they're performing a code or a change in development based on that project and that task, not because they've lived bankruptcy or they know bankruptcy law or law firms even. And so there's just something to be said on the longevity and quite honestly the market share that Jubilee has and will have in the next year or two, because we're just now in the last 2 years being, not just us, but widely, the masses in bankruptcy law are becoming more progressive because they were forced to in a time where they were shut down unless they were virtual, right? And so having Carlos's team in-house is going to be imperative. Like you said, if there's something that isn't there yet, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming. And within the true statement that they said it would come.
So like I said, I had a meeting with Bobby last week on doing modified plans. There was I don't want to say a glitch, but that's the best way of kind of putting it, to where when you would put in some data, it would push the end date 1 month beyond where it needed to be, the way I was doing it. And so we looked it over, and so we came up with a better way of doing it, and then they were able to make it so it didn't have that glitch as well. So, and that was within less than a week we had it out. So
hey, I just got a question in the chat box. Thank you, Dave. I actually don't know the answer to this. It says, do I need to keep my lead conversion platform, or does Jubilee have something similar included where I can get rid of that as well?
you're talking about like
Sales funnel.
Yeah.
They're asking, do you live your sales funnel within Jubilee, or do you prefer to have it in a different CRM? Does Jubilee even have the option for the lead conversion piece?
Yeah, I think you could build it within there, but they do have enough statuses, right? They have what, open, pending. Kylie, we've been over this so many times.
There's like 10 of them.
Yep. So you could build it in there, and I think it would work fine. I think to make it work better, they would have to, they would want to invest in, some mechanics behind, some of the structure behind it. We don't use it for that purpose, mostly because we're not as, our leads aren't as high volume as, so we're able to use other things, spreadsheets, and another colleague of mine, we use email drip campaigns and that sort of thing. But where I'm going with it is that's kind of on my radar here of once hopefully Jubilee makes more advances in, like the client portal and the billing and some of the chasing stuff that we're able to do, that sets up nicely then to transition that same framework into a sales funnel. And I think they'll eventually get there.
Right.
But
What about
I think you could use it though right now if you really wanted to.
You should find a way.
Yeah, because you create the task. It just is a different feel and stage of the case, right? It's just not a case yet. It's not a retain yet, but you can build that out.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be as clean as what you would find in a truly built out CRM.
Yep. And to further answer that question, Dave, I would say if you're already living in a CRM or a lead conversion tech piece that is doing you well, likely it integrates with Jubilee. I would keep it. If you don't already have one, for the ones that didn't ask the question, I would say start within Jubilee, and then, if you're going from nothing to something, I would say, reach out to Jubilee, reach out to the team, have them help you create that sales funnel. Even me, myself, will help in any way to do that, because I think obviously it's a very important piece of the puzzle, the sales funnel. Here's another one that came in. What about dog collection? Does it help you chase? This is funny. The question is, quote unquote, does Jubilee help you chase debtors and dog collection? I'm tired of it.
Yes, they do. I haven't done
I'm sorry, I
it
just thought it was so funny because I feel you on that, sister.
No, that's my main job here. So yes,
Like
I haven't
you.
dug into it completely because it does have some quirks that need to be worked out. But it does. It will allow you to text and email, and they're all autos that get sent out. And they can submit it through a portal, and it automatically gets put into the case. So it's really user friendly. We just need to work out some kinks.
Are the text manual, auto, or are they two-way? Like, does it feel as if you have control of what you're saying, or is it templates, or?
I can't remember at this point. I think they're auto text, but I think you can characterize them to the way you want them set up. And then they can reply back to those text messages, and you get notification of them. So
Perfect.
The system.
And that was my real question, is so they can reply back. So it's something that you set up, and it's automated by the tasks, and then they can reply back, and you see that within the platform.
Yep.
Perfect. Very good. I like it. I won't speak for Jeff, Trish, or Kylie, but I will take the time. If you pop me a question, if I don't know the answer, I'll hunt it down. I mean, that was part of the fun for me today, is I learned some things I didn't know about Jubilee, and I try to pride myself in knowing a lot about Jubilee. So, okay, final question. Here comes one. Can you file the case within Jubilee, or is it something that's integrated, or you go somewhere else to actually file the case? Good question.
You can file it in Jubilee. You can do, right now we do the petition, credit counseling. Kylie, you don't do the SIG deck.
Matrix.
Yeah. So that files automatically, and then we go back into Pacer to file the NOR, SIG deck, and payment advices. However, Jubilee has made an update that it will all file automatically. We just have not had the time to sit down and figure it out.
We've been busy.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Okay, last question, guys. Promise. I'm cutting you guys off, okay? But I'm glad that y'all have questions. Take the pressure off me, right? So last one though, it's a two-part question. So you slipped one in on me, Amy. Does Jubilee have a calendar? And does that calendar allow you to have virtual meeting IDs, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Google Meet, whatever it is?
It has a calendar. I don't know the answer to the second part because we, to be honest, again, one of those things where we were using Outlook as our calendar because as you can see, we're all in 3 different locations here in Minnesota. We all work from home. In the old system we had, it was easier to integrate because of the way my appointments get put on my calendar, so they could see my calendar, right? And so right now we still use Outlook because it's seamless for some of my marketing and for what we do as a firm. Eventually that will all be housed within Jubilee, right? So once they fully integrate with Outlook and Calendarly, it'll all work seamlessly in Jubilee. I would suspect the answer to the second part would be yes, that you should be able to embed that other stuff too. I would think so.
Yep, absolutely. That's the correct answer, Jeff. You win the gold star. I'm just kidding. Trish totally got the gold star today.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Again, if you don't want to contact Jubilee for the answer, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure that we have the answer. If we don't, I know myself, I'll hunt it down for you. But also, I would say reach out to them. Nate, Bobby, Carlos, they're some of my favorites over there. But everybody is amazing. So feel free to drop a name, and I'm sure you'll get the right person that can help you along in this. But what I do want to say is I took the time to do this because I want firms to take the next step. You already know what you need to do. It's just hard to do that first step. And so I wanted an opportunity to talk to someone and people that had gone through exactly what I'm asking you to go through. And everybody, not just Jeff and his team today with us, has said, I wish I would have waited that entire year that I was threatening to leave my current provider. And I wish I would have just done it because they lost so much during that time. And it really is just taking that next step. So let's not think about all the pieces, and let's just take that next step, which would be contacting the good people at Jubilee, reaching out to us if you're not there yet, and allowing us to help you through this journey. So everyone be blessed. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'll see you all the next time.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.